I woke up in a strange, luxurious bedroom, my mind totally blank, no memories of who I am or how I got here. The room was decked out like a palace, but I felt nothing but confusion and fear in my chest. On the nightstand sat this weird, iridescent scale, heavy, shiny, and definitely not something human. That's when I noticed the silver-haired man beside me. His sharp jawline looked like it could cut glass. My heart raced. Who was this man? Why was I here with him? I pat my pockets, my phone was gone. My only link to the outside world vanished. That scale, its texture, its weight, screamed that something deeply wrong was going on here. Suddenly, his eyes shifted. Those golden eyes were sharp, like he could see straight through me. I held my breath, quietly slipping out of bed, too scared to make a sound. My foot hit a hard boot one with a dragon crest, matching that strange scale on the nightstand. He stirred. I froze completely, too terrified to even move my fingers. I ran for the door, only one thought in my head: escape, and find out what's happening. As I wrenched the door open, a cold chill ran down my spine, and a voice exploded in my head. It was cold and clear. You can't run from him, Liana. You'll never get away. My hand tightened on the doorframe, cold sweat breaking out. How did it know my name? Then I felt a burn on my collarbone. There was a glowing silver dragon mark I'd never seen before. Looking back at the silver-haired man, I realized our connection was way deeper than I thought. Run or stay to find answers? My mind was a mess, but that warning kept ringing in my head. Forget it, I had to leave. I took a deep breath and started running down the hallway. My feet hit the floor hard, each step making my heart beat faster. The hallway was dim, shadowy, and every creak of the floor made me jump. I bolted back to campus, my heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. The campus was as busy as ever, but every glance felt like it was piercing right through me. A classmate's eyes locked on my neck, then she whispered something to her friend. Panic set in. I fumbled in my bag for a pocket mirror. I ducked into a quiet corner, my hands shaking as I held up the mirror. And there it was, a glowing silver dragon coiled around my collarbone, bright as moonlight. It wasn't a tattoo, this thing was alive, pulsing in time with my racing heart. I ran to the library, my hood pulled up to hide the mark burning on my skin. The library stacks felt like a sanctuary until I sat down at a computer. I typed glowing dragon mark into the search bar, my fingers trembling. The screen flickered for a second, then everything went wrong. The browser crashed, and one word blared on the screen in glowing red letters: faded. My breath caught in my throat. What did that even mean? Then a soft tap landed on my shoulder, making me jump so hard I almost fell out of my chair. I slowly turned, my mind racing with every terrible possibility, and there he was, the silver-haired stranger from my bed, holding my missing phone. My phone's lock screen stared back at me, a photo of us kissing, grinning like we were old friends. I didn't remember that photo. I didn't remember any of this. The library felt smaller, darker, like every shadow was closing in on me. He tilted his head, like he was waiting for me to say something, like he knew exactly who I was. But all I could do was stare, my mind screaming to run, run, run. I stumbled back, tripping over a stack of books, and scrambled to my feet. The silver-haired man didn't move. He just watched me, that cold, knowing look in his eyes. I was still reeling from his words when his phone slammed into my palms. He leaned against the bookshelf, watching me like he knew exactly what I'd see. And there, it was a photo of us kissing, but I couldn't recall any of it. Panic flooded me. I stumbled back, my mind racing to place this stranger. My back slammed into the bookshelf, sending books teetering down around me. His hand shot out to catch me, heat searing through my hoodie before he even touched me. I flinched away, shoving him with all my might. I had to get out of there. I spun on my heel and ran, my boots thudding against the dusty floor. The library doors burst open behind me, sunlight blinding me for a split second. I gasped for air, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might burst. That's when it happened. A black car skidded to a stop right beside me. The tinted windows were like black mirrors. I couldn't see who was inside. I stumbled back, every instinct screaming that I was in danger. My hand flew to the dagger at my waist, my fingers curling around the familiar handle. I stood my ground, dagger ready, waiting for whatever would happen next. The car door creaked open just a crack, and my blood turned to ice. My dragon mark flared to life, burning hot against my skin like a warning. I tensed, every muscle ready to fight or run, whichever came first. A hand emerged from the darkness, pale and steady, and my breath caught in my throat. In that moment, I knew this wasn't the end. This was just the start of something terrifying. I'd just escaped Draco, but a new threat loomed in the parking lot. A black sedan slid into view, its door creaking open like a predator's jaws. A man with a scarred face stepped out, holding a dragon scale identical to the one in my bedroom. My blood ran cold. How did he get this? Who was this stranger? Then I heard Draco's voice. He'd followed me. He was trying to save me. The scarred man lunged, his iron grip closing around my wrist. I kicked at him, desperate to break free, but he didn't even flinch. Draco dove for me, but his fingers brushed mine. He was just too late. He wrenched me backward, yanking me toward the waiting car. I was thrown into the backseat, pounding on the window as the car roared to life. The scarred man glanced back, a cold smirk on his face. He knew exactly what he was doing. As we sped away, I looked back and Draco was changing. Scales burst through his skin. His arms stretched, shifting into massive clawed limbs. He wasn't human anymore. Giant silver wings unfurled, casting a shadow over the entire parking lot. He launched into the sky, roaring, chasing the car with all his might. I stared, stunned. The man I'd run from was a dragon, a real flying dragon. The car sped faster, but the dragon was gaining. He wouldn't let me go that easily. Then, my mark on my collarbone glowed, warm and bright. It was connected to him, somehow. We plunged into a tunnel, and the dragon's roar echoed behind us. Would he lose us now? I sank back against the seat, my head spinning. What was happening to me? Who was I really? The scarred man twirled the dragon scale in his fingers. He knew exactly who I was, and what I meant to Draco. Outside, the dragon soared above the tunnel, searching for a way to cut us off. He wasn't giving up. Trapped in the back seat, ropes digging into my wrists, I had no clue what this scarred man wanted. His storm gray eyes never left me cold, calculating, like he was studying an insect. That glowing tattoo on his neck? It wasn't just ink, it felt alive, pulsing with something dark. I scanned every inch of the car, desperate for a way out, anything to break free. I sawed at the rope with every ounce of strength, heart pounding loud enough to hear. His eyes snapped to my hands, I froze, hoping he hadn't seen what I was doing. I forced my body still, praying he'd buy the act if he caught me. I didn't want to think what would happen. The car rumbled to a stop, and I realized we were at an abandoned warehouse. He opened the door, that scarred face twisting into a smirk. It was time to face whatever was inside. My hands clenched so tight, my nails broke skin, fear coiled in my gut like a live wire. He dragged me toward the door, my feet scraping the concrete. I didn't struggle yet. The door creaked open, and a wave of cold, damp air hit me. Something was very wrong in there. Then I heard it, a low, guttural roar, so deep it vibrated in my bones. That wasn't human. Whatever was in there was something else entirely, something ancient, something hungry. He tightened his grip, forcing me forward. "Don't look so scared," he said. "He's been waiting for you." I was pulled inside, and the shadow in the corner shifted, growing taller, larger, more terrifying with every second. I could barely make it out charred scales, a missing wing, eyes glowing like molten red rock. Then my mark flared to life, burning hot like it was responding to whatever this thing was. It roared again, louder this time, and I knew, with icy certainty, it was coming for me. Lucian's laugh cut through the roar. "Told you he was waiting," he said. "Now the fun begins." I stumbled back, hitting the concrete wall. Trapped, with two monsters closing in and nowhere left to run. I was dragged into a rotting warehouse, my wrists raw from the rough rope biting into my skin. The air reeked of burnt rot and stale smoke, every shadow feeling like a hidden threat. Then I spotted it, something massive, lurking in the darkest corner of the space. Lucian, the man who kidnapped me, knelt low, calling out to someone in the dark, "Master." And then he stepped into the dim light charred black scales, missing left wing, red eyes glowing like smoldering embers. His scales were black as burnt ash, cracked and oozing faint acrid smoke with every breath. His left wing was gone, just a ragged, scarred stump where it should have sprouted from his back. But his eyes, they burned red like molten fire, like he could see every secret I tried to hide. He sniffed the air slowly, his head tilting like he could taste the fear radiating from me. Suddenly, his gaze locked on me on the silver dragon mark, glowing faint at my collarbone. A cruel, sharp smirk spread across his face, his fangs glinting in the dim warehouse light. His voice rumbled like grinding stone, sending icy chills racing down my spine. "You're the perfect pawn," he hissed, the key to breaking Draco once and for all. I had no clue what he meant, but I knew I'd stumbled into something far bigger than me. The warehouse door slammed shut with a deafening crash, trapping me with the monster who wanted to destroy Draco. Lucian stayed on his knees, his face blank like he had no will left of his own. He loomed over me so large, the whole warehouse felt like a tiny cage around us. I clenched my fists so tight, my nails dug into my palms, desperate to find any way out of this hell. His clawed hand twitched slightly, like he was already imagining all the chaos he'd unleash. His red eyes flared even brighter, and I knew this was only the start of my nightmare. I spotted huge claw marks on the concrete, proof of just how terrifyingly powerful he really was. Scratch marks snaked across the floor where I'd been dragged, a brutal reminder of how helpless I was. Every window was boarded up tight, no way to call for help, no way to escape this prison. My wrists throbbed nonstop, the rope burned stinging with every shallow breath I took. He took one slow step toward me, and the whole warehouse shook under his massive weight. I stormed back to my throne hall, my armor battered and my pride in tatters. The golden throne loomed before me, but all I saw was that cursed black dragon scroll. That symbol, Nemesis's mark, it was a declaration of war and a threat to her. Every step echoed with the weight of what he'd done, what he'd taken from me. I stood there, a king stripped of his most precious treasure, burning with rage. My fist slammed into the armrest, the sound a roar of my fury that shook the hall. Then, General Azure stepped forward, his scales glinting with unspoken loyalty. He bowed, his voice rumbling with the weight of a warrior's vow. "Command me, my king." I nodded, my gaze sharp enough to cut steel. The order was clear: unleash hell. With a roar, he unfurled his wings and soared into the sky, the first strike of our retaliation. Alone again, the weight of the throne pressed down, but my fury burned brighter than ever. My golden eyes began to glow, the dragon fire within me awakening for vengeance. I pointed toward the door, my voice echoing through the hall like thunder. "That warehouse where she's held?" I snarled. "I will burn it to the ground, and I will bring Liana back to me." I vowed, every word a promise carved in fire. The dragon within me roared, ready to raise anything that stood between us. Every step I took was a pledge: no more losses, no more surrender. The dragon sigil on my armor flared to life, a beacon of my unbreakable resolve. I turned toward the door, my path clear: burn, fight, win for her. And as I stepped into the light, I knew the storm was only just beginning. I woke up trapped in this damp metal cell, every breath smelling like rust and despair. My wrists were raw from the rough rope, burning every time I moved. I thought I'd break here, forgotten and alone. Then I felt it warmth spreading from the silver mark on my collarbone. It wasn't just warmth, it was power, waking up something deep inside me. The mark grew brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. I could feel it flowing through my veins, chasing away the cold and fear. I stood up, my legs shaking, but my resolve solid. I pressed both hands against the cold metal door, focusing on that warmth. At first, nothing happened. Then, the metal started to hum, to vibrate. The door began to bend, the metal groaning like it was begging to break. I could barely believe it, I was actually breaking free. But just as I thought I'd escape, I heard footsteps in the hallway outside. My blood ran cold when I saw him, Lucian, that scarred man who'd taken me. He had that same cold, smirking look, like he knew I'd try to run. And in his hand, he held a dagger, glinting in the dim light. I was trapped again, but this time, I wasn't just going to wait to be caught. I felt the mark on my collarbone burn brighter, ready to fight back this time. Lucian took a step forward, and I knew this was going to get ugly. But I wasn't the scared, confused girl he'd taken before. I was ready to fight. He lunged toward me, the dagger glinting in the dim hallway light. I dodged at the last second, the mark on my chest flaring with bright silver light. I held my breath behind the crates, every creak in the warehouse making my pulse spike. Lucian was muttering about Draco's forces, unaware I was just feet away. I crept toward the exit, my muscles tight with every quiet step. The warehouse felt endless, every second stretching on like an eternity. Then I heard a deep, familiar roar that shook the walls. A blue-scaled dragon crashed through the roof, sending debris raining down. And from the shadows stepped Nemesis, his red eyes glowing with unbridled rage. He unleashed a wave of fire, the heat singeing my skin even from across the room. I bolted to the side, my legs carrying me as fast as they could. But his eyes locked onto me, and I knew I wasn't fast enough. A torrent of fire curled toward my face, and I raised my arm to shield myself. Fear flooded me, my hands shaking as the heat grew unbearable. The blue dragon and Nemesis clashed, creating a distraction I had to use. The dragon attacked, buying me precious seconds to make my escape. I ran toward the exit, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it. The fire raged behind me, the heat pushing me to run faster. My dragon mark glowed faintly, as if trying to protect me from the danger. The dragon unleashed its own fire, forcing Nemesis to dodge. I reached the exit, my hand closing around the door handle. My knuckles whitened as I pulled, desperate to get out. But Nemesis broke free, his gaze locking onto me once more. Despair washed over me, I knew he'd catch me before I could escape. I stumbled out of the burning warehouse, smoke searing my throat, every breath a fight. The warehouse behind me was an inferno, flames eating through the walls like they were paper. Then I spotted him, Draco, in his silver dragon form, diving straight for Nemesis. He slammed into the black dragon with a roar that shook the ground, sending both crashing into the fire. Before I could run to the sound, Lucian's iron grip clamped down on my arm. I wrenched free, ignoring his snarls, and ran toward the sound of Draco's voice. But my feet caught on a loose brick, and I went crashing to the ground, pain shooting up my knee. Then Draco was there, in human form, armor dented, rushing straight for me. But before he could reach me, Nemesis burst out of the warehouse, flames erupting from his jaws. Without a second thought, he shoved me out of the way, throwing himself between me and the fire. The flames hit him square in the back, and I heard a sound that wasn't fire, his pained roar. His armor began to melt, dripping off him, and I saw it, silver scales pushing through his skin. The dragon wasn't just outside him anymore, it was breaking through, saving him from the fire. I crawled to him, tears mixing with ash, as he collapsed to his knees, scales now covering his back. I grabbed his hand, his skin still hot from the fire, but his eyes, they were starting to clear. Lucian was gone, vanished into the smoke, leaving us alone with the burning ruins. My dragon mark glowed brighter than ever, thrumming like it was singing, like it knew we'd survived. Draco leaned against me, exhausted, and for the first time, I let myself breathe. But as the smoke cleared, I knew this wasn't the end. Nemesis would be back, angrier than ever. But this time, I wouldn't run. I'd fight, with Draco by my side, and nothing would stop us. I sat by Draco's bed, his body broken after saving me, our bond burning brighter than ever. The healer worked tirelessly, brewing a glow that might just pull him back from the brink. Our marks pulsed in perfect sync-proof, our fates were woven into one unbreakable thread. Then his eyes fluttered open, golden, weary, but still filled with that familiar fire. For a moment, the world felt calm, like we'd finally caught our breath. He reached for me, his hand warm despite his wounds, and I clung to it like a lifeline. In that touch, I felt that we weren't just two people, we were a force no enemy could break. But that calm didn't last. A crash shattered the quiet, and my blood ran cold. A white-scaled messenger burst in, screaming of rebellion in the Northern Territories. Rebellion? So soon after we'd barely survived Nemesis's attack? Draco tried to sit up, his bandages pulling, but I held him back. He was too weak to fight. The healer froze, her glow dimming as the weight of the news settled over us all. She held a scroll, its black dragon symbol, a warning we couldn't ignore. In that small room, the air thickened. We knew peace was never going to be easy. My mark burned hotter, a sign our bond was preparing us for what came next. Draco's wounds still festered, but I could see the resolve in his eyes growing stronger. The healer's brew continued to glow, a fragile hope that Draco would fully heal. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and red, an omen of the battle to come. I stood, my dagger in hand, ready to face whatever threat came for our kingdom. And Draco? He wouldn't stay down, not when his kingdom needed him, not when I needed him. The messenger's eyes told the whole story. This rebellion was bigger than we thought. The healer's herbs hung on the wall, a reminder of the healing we still needed and the war we couldn't avoid. I looked back at Draco, my heart aching. How could we fight this war when he was still so hurt? But in his eyes, I saw it. We weren't going to fight it alone. We had an army, we had each other. And together, we would face this rebellion. We would protect our world, no matter the cost. I watched Draco push himself up, every breath a fight against pain. His armor was dented and damaged, but he refused to show weakness. The green healer passed him his sword, its dragon hilt glinting faintly. He turned to me, his voice firm but gentle. He told me to stay here, safe from the battle raging outside. But I couldn't just hide while he risked everything. My eyes locked on the dagger on the table, my chance to fight too. I grabbed it, tucking it into my waistband without a second thought. Draco saw me, and a faint, amused smile tugged at his lips. He shook his head, like he'd known I'd never listen. Then he held out his hand, an invitation I couldn't refuse. I placed my hand in his, my heart racing with resolve. His golden eyes locked on mine, full of determination. "Fine," he said, "but you stay close. I won't lose you." My dragon mark glowed faintly, a reminder of our bond. We walked toward the door, ready to face whatever came next. Draco gripped his sword tighter, ready for battle. I rested my hand on my dagger, ready to fight beside him. In that moment, I knew we'd face this together. No more hiding, no more letting him fight alone. I stood on the hill with Draco, watching dragons tear each other apart below our feet. Black-scaled rebels clashed with Draco's forces, the valley drowning in roars and scorching fire. Nemesis circled above, spewing fire that painted the sky crimson with his unbridled rage. Then I spotted them rebels, flanking us from the left, silent and deadly unseen. I yelled a warning, and Draco roared orders to his blue-scaled general who darted to intercept. The blue-scaled dragon shot off, wings beating hard to cut off the rebel flank. But we weren't safe yet. One rebel broke free, charging straight up our hill. It roared, jaws wide, claws glinting as it barreled toward us with killing intent. I held my dagger out, ready to fight, even though I knew I was no match for it. It slammed into me before I could blink, sending us rolling down the hill together. My dagger flew from my hand, spinning into the dirt far away from me. A searing pain shot up my arm. Its claws had sliced deep into my skin, blood pouring out. I thought it was the end. Until Draco's roar split the sky, charging at the rebel dragon. Draco slammed into the rebel, sending it crashing into the rocks below our hill. I lay in the dirt, dizzy, my arm throbbing with every shaky breath I took. Draco shifted back to human form, rushing to my side with panic burning in his golden eyes. He ripped off a piece of his armor, pressing it to my arm to stem the bleeding. Above us, the battle raged on, but in that moment, nothing mattered but staying alive. Draco helped me to my feet, and we stared at the valley, knowing the war was far from over. As we stood there, the silver dragon mark on my collarbone glowed brighter, warning me of more dark danger. Draco gripped his sword tighter, his gaze fixed on the valley's dark depths, ready to fight again. The border war raged on, a storm of scales and fire that seemed to have no end in sight. I lay bleeding on the border battlefield, my body screaming, unsure if I'd make it out alive. A massive rebel dragon loomed over me, jaws gaping wide, ready to tear me apart. I could feel its hot breath on my face. This was the end, I thought. But then, something changed. My dragon mark started to glow, faint at first. It exploded into blinding silver light, so bright I squeezed my eyes shut. The rebel dragon screeched in agony, reeling back like it was burned by holy fire. I forced myself to sit up, the worst of the pain fading, hope sparking in my chest. I spotted my tactical dagger on the ground, reaching for it to defend myself. I wrapped my fingers around it tight. I wasn't going down without a fight. Then a deafening roar split the sky. Draco was coming for me in his massive dragon form. He landed and shifted back to human form, his battle armor dented, rushing straight to me. He pulled me into his arms, his voice tight with relief. "I thought I lost you." We ran for the nearby hills, needing to get away from the chaos of the battlefield. As we ran, I glanced up at the night sky and froze, seeing a familiar dark figure. It was Nemesis, and he had Lucian in his grasp, flying away into the dark sky. I stared in shock. Why would he take Lucian instead of finishing him off? Draco held my shoulders, his voice low. "We can't chase him now, we need to lay low." I watched until they vanished, my fists clenched, knowing this wasn't over. We hid behind the rocks, keeping watch, waiting for the right moment to move. My dragon mark glowed again, faintly this time, a quiet warning of more danger to come. Draco pulled out a dragon scroll, ready to send a message for backup from the kingdom. I couldn't stop replaying the scene in my head. What was Nemesis planning with Lucian? Roars echoed from the battlefield, reminding us the rebel dragons were still out there. Draco's golden eyes sharpened, his hand tightening around his sword, ready to fight again. We stood side by side, staring out at the battlefield, ready to face whatever came next. I stood in the Dragon Kingdom's grand hall, covered in dirt and blood, barely believing we'd survived. Dragons roared and cheered around us, their scales glinting in the golden hall's light. But victory felt hollow. Nemesis' scroll lay at our feet, a reminder he wasn't truly gone. Draco's hand curled into a fist, his golden eyes blazing with unspoken fury. He crushed the scroll in his palm, golden light bursting from his eyes like a raging storm. I'd never seen him. That furious nemesis had crossed a line he couldn't return from. Then, the green-scaled healer stepped forward, a vial of glowing green potion in her claws. Her potion glowed softly, meant to heal the worst of our battle wounds. Just as she approached, a wave of dizziness hit me hard enough to make me stumble. My vision blurred, and suddenly I was seeing things I didn't remember ever living. A flash of memory, small me, holding an iridescent dragon scale in my tiny hand. My mother stood beside me, her smile warm, her voice echoing in my mind like a lullaby. "You are the one," she said, her eyes shining with a truth I couldn't yet understand. She wore the same silver dragon necklace I now carried close to my heart. I jolted back to reality, my hand flying to my own dragon necklace at my chest. My silver dragon mark burned bright on my collarbone, thrumming with an energy I couldn't control. Draco caught me before I fell, his arms steady as the dragons fell silent around us. "Liana, talk to me," he said, his golden eyes softening with unspoken worry. I couldn't find the words. How do you tell someone you just saw a memory you never knew you had? The healer held out her potion again, her green eyes soft but urgent, urging me to drink. I hesitated, the memory of my mother still ringing in my ears, but I knew I had to heal. I drank the warm liquid, and the dizziness faded, though the memory lingered like a ghost. I knew then this wasn't the end. Something bigger was coming, and I was at the center of it. The hall's lofty ceiling, covered in ancient dragon carvings, seemed to watch over us, as if it knew the truth too. I woke up in a lavish foreign bed, no idea how I got here. This place screamed dragon royalty, nothing like my tiny college apartment. And there he was, Draco, the dragon lord who'd been protecting me. He held out a silver dragon necklace, something familiar tugged at my mind. He said it belonged to someone I'd lost, my mother. It was exactly like the one I'd seen in blurry memories. He told me my mom wasn't just human, she was an ally to dragons. I could barely wrap my head around that my mom, a dragon ally. Then, he dropped a bombshell: dragons can't stay human without a fated mate. And suddenly, this glowing mark on my chest made so much more sense. Just as I processed it, a sharp knock echoed through the room. Someone was coming in, and I had a feeling it wasn't good news. A white-scaled dragon messenger stepped in, holding a royal scroll. That scroll looked official and way too important for my liking. She held it out to Draco, her expression cold and formal. His fingers tightened around it. I knew whatever was inside was big. The room felt suddenly tense, like whatever was in that scroll would change everything. I leaned forward, desperate to know what was in that scroll. Draco's face went stone cold. This wasn't just a routine message. And in that moment, I knew our quiet was about to shatter completely. The messenger's eyes held no warmth. This was urgent. He started to unroll it, and I held my breath for whatever would come next. I was just starting to relax when the white-scaled dragon burst in with a scroll. The air in the guest chamber turned icy the second she appeared. That scroll wasn't just paper, it was a death sentence for our world. Draco took it, his fingers tightening like he already knew the worst. When he unrolled it, the color drained from his face faster than blood from a wound. I'd never seen him look that scared, not even when Nemesis attacked. He said the human government found us, they'd attack at dawn. My mother's necklace burned against my chest like it was warning me too. I couldn't just wait for war, we had to try something else. I told him we should negotiate, not fight to the death. He stopped pacing, his golden eyes blazing with fury and disbelief. "You want a dragon lord and his human mate to walk into a military base?" he snarled. I didn't flinch. This was our only chance to avoid carnage. "It's a suicide mission. They'll shoot us before we even speak." The silence stretched on after his words, heavy with fear and doubt. My necklace burned hotter, like my mother was urging me to keep fighting for peace. I stepped closer, my voice steady, even as my heart raced. Draco's fist clenched so tight I could hear his knuckles cracking. He turned away, staring at the dragon kingdom below, like he was saying goodbye. I waited, holding my breath, hoping he'd see that peace was worth the risk. For a long moment, I thought he'd refuse, then his shoulders relaxed. He turned back, his eyes showing fear, but also a flicker of hope. Standing on the Dragon Kingdom's roof, I knew our fate hung in the balance. Below lay the Dragon Kingdom's lands, where war between humans and dragons loomed. Suddenly, my mother's necklace burned against my chest, a voice whispering in my mind. My mother told me to trust myself, that negotiation was our only path. I had to convince Draco, or both our worlds would burn. Draco had always opposed negotiation. He'd seen too much dragon blood spilled. I told him peace wasn't weakness, it was courage to end the cycle of death. After a long silence, he finally sighed. He would give peace a chance. A silver light engulfed him, and he shifted back to his dragon form. He lowered himself, letting me climb onto his scaled back. I took a deep breath, clinging tightly as wind whipped through my hair. We soared toward the clouds, heading straight for the human world. The world shrank below me, and I dared to hope we'd succeed. But then I spotted a dark shape behind the clouds, my heart dropping. It was Nemesis. He'd been watching us this entire time. He would never let us make peace. He only craved war and destruction. We couldn't turn back. We had to keep going, no matter what he planned. My dragon mark burned hot, warning me of the danger ahead. We flew toward our uncertain fate, Nemesis's shadow always at our heels. But I wouldn't give up. We had to fight for both our worlds. Draco sped up, his wings cutting through the clouds with fierce determination. Nemesis roared, his rage echoing through the sky as he chased us. Draco and I stood before the human military base, every gun pointed straight at us. Every soldier had their weapon aimed, ready to fire at a moment's notice. The scar-faced general stared daggers at us, no mercy in his cold eyes. My mother's necklace grew warm, a faint silver light starting to glow against my chest. One by one, the soldiers' guns began to rattle, shaking uncontrollably in their grasp. Draco stepped forward, our message clear. We were here to negotiate, not fight. But the general only laughed, a cold, cruel sound that sent chills down my spine. He lifted his hand, and I knew exactly what that meant: attack. I didn't hesitate. I stepped forward, my resolve hardening with every move. The silver dragon mark on my collarbone blazed to life, brighter than it had ever been. The first gun clattered to the ground, the sound echoing through the silent base. Then another, and another, as if an invisible force wrested them from their grasp. When the noise stopped, every soldier stood unarmed, staring at their empty hands. Draco stood beside me, steady as ever, ready for whatever would come next. The general's face turned purple with rage, his plan completely unraveled before his eyes. I held my head high, not backing down, not even for a second. The base that had felt like a death trap now felt like a turning point. The soldiers looked between us and their fallen guns, confusion written all over their faces. My necklace glowed brighter, as if my mother was watching over us, guiding us forward. But the general wasn't done. I could see the fury still burning in his eyes. Draco's hand went to his sword, ready to defend us if the general made a move. I stared right back, fear nowhere to be found. We had come too far to stop now. I thought we'd negotiated peace until the general lunged at me with a dagger. I was saved, but the blade sank deep into Draco's arm, his blood stained his armor. Then my mark blazed bright silver light exploding from my chest, throwing the general back. Before we could breathe, Nemesis burst through the doors, flames roaring from his mouth. He wasn't here to help, he wanted to kill the general and frame us for it. Draco didn't hesitate, his body shifted, scales bursting through his skin. In seconds, he was a massive silver dragon, wings blocking the sun. I scrambled onto his back, and we launched into the sky, Nemesis hot on our tails. Flames streaked past us, he wasn't going to let us escape that easily. When I looked down, smoke billowed from the base, humans already saw us as enemies. The fire spread fast, every explosion was proof we'd been betrayed. Soldiers screamed, pointing at us like we'd started it all. Nemesis's plan worked. We climbed higher, Draco's wings beating hard, but the damage was already done. Nemesis roared behind us, his red eyes blazing. He wasn't done with us yet. Draco was hurt, his wound tore open as he flew, blood dripping into the clouds. Below, the base burned to the ground piece was just a distant memory now. I gripped his scales tighter, wondering if we'd ever be able to fix this. Emergency sirens wailed below, but no one would believe we were innocent. Then my necklace warmed my mother's gift, glowing like it was trying to tell me something. We flew into the horizon, but I knew this wasn't the end. Nemesis would come for us again. Soldiers yelled curses at the sky, vowing to hunt us down. We were fugitives now. The general lay unconscious, his plot exposed, but no one would listen to the truth. I looked ahead, gripping my dagger tighter. We would clear our names, no matter what. Draco's wings beat steadily, carrying us away from the chaos toward a new fight. As the base disappeared in smoke, I knew our war was just beginning. We thought we'd found safety in this hidden cabin, but the past was hot on our heels. The fire crackled, but it couldn't chase away the chill of all we'd lost. Then my necklace warmed, a familiar glow that felt like my mother's touch. I heard her voice again, the promise she'd whispered when I was small: "Dragons will protect you." Draco pulled me close, and I felt the low rumble of a dragon's purr in his chest. Then came the knock, sharp, deliberate, shattering our fragile peace. Draco's hand closed around his sword, his golden eyes hardening with warning. He moved silently, every muscle tensed for the fight we both feared. The door creaked open, and the last person we expected stood in the doorway. Lucian, his scar, still a raw reminder of all he'd done, held out a scroll. A dragon scroll, the same symbol we'd seen on Nemesis's darkest orders. Draco's grip tightened, ready to strike the traitor down where he stood. But then he spoke, his voice rough, but not with malice. He said he wanted to help. The air hung thick with suspicion. Could we trust the man who tried to destroy us? My dragon mark warmed, as if trying to tell me something I couldn't yet understand. Draco's golden eyes softened. Just for a second, he felt it too. He held out the scroll further, his voice steady. "I know how to stop Nemesis." The scroll symbol wasn't just a threat, it was a key to taking down our enemy. I stepped forward, my dragon mark burning bright. We had to take this chance. And in the quiet of the woods, we knew whatever we chose would change everything. I stared at Lucian, tied to the chair, his usual smugness completely gone. Draco loomed nearby, his golden eyes sharp as he waited for Lucian to talk. Then, he held out a scroll marked with Nemesis's black dragon symbol. I noticed something odd. His neck tattoo was fading, the black ink turning pale. He said he'd had enough of Nemesis's endless killing and betrayal. He spilled Nemesis's plan attack the Dragon Kingdom at sunset with a dragon-killing weapon. The weapon was supposed to wipe out every dragon in one strike. My mark tingled, a warning that this threat was worse than we thought. He said he wanted to make amends by helping us stop Nemesis. Then he told us the secret entrance to Nemesis's hidden cave. It was hidden behind a waterfall deep in the northern woods. Draco and I exchanged looks. We had to trust him, even if it was risky. Then a low roar shook the cabin, deep, powerful, definitely dragon. My heart raced. Nemesis must have found us. Or one of his loyal followers. Draco's hand flew to his sword, his scales rippling with tension. Lucian tensed. He knew that roar, and it wasn't friendly. Heavy scaled footsteps thudded closer, slow, deliberate, like a predator hunting prey. The shadow under the door grew longer, stretching toward us like a claw. I gripped my dagger, ready to fight no matter what was on the other side. We waited, breath held, as the footsteps stopped right outside the door. The doorknob creaked, turning slowly. Who, or what, was coming in? Draco stepped in front of me, his sword glinting in the firelight, ready to defend us. Lucian's eyes widened. He knew exactly what was on the other side, and he was terrified. My mark blazed bright, warning me of the danger approaching. This was no ordinary dragon. The door creaked open wider, and the shadows swallowed us whole, our fates hanging in the balance. I thought we were safe, until the black-scaled dragon crashed through our hideout door. Draco shifted instantly, slamming into the intruder before I could even scream. Then, Lucian grabbed my arm, yanking me toward the back door like my life depended on it. He said, "We had to stop Nemesis's weapon before sunset, no time to question, just run." We burst into the woods, the sound of roars still ringing in my ears. My legs burned, my lungs screamed, but I didn't dare slow down for even a second. Lucian didn't look back, just kept sprinting, his voice barking directions over his shoulder. Then we rounded a bend, and there it was, the waterfall hiding the cave entrance. Lucian swore we were almost there, that we could stop Nemesis's terrible weapon in time. We sprinted toward the water, the spray soaking my clothes and stinging my eyes. I ducked into the cave, the cold darkness swallowing me whole, cutting off the sound of the waterfall. For a split second, I thought we were safe at last, no more dragons, no more running. That's when I heard the soft, deadly slide of a dagger being drawn from its sheath. I turned slowly, and there was Lucian, a cruel, mocking smirk stretching across his scarred face. "You really thought I'd betray Nemesis?" He laughed, the sound echoing off the stone walls. "You're even more naive than I took you for." I froze, my blood turning to ice in my veins. I'd trusted him, stupid, blind, foolish trust. The cave felt smaller suddenly, every shadow twisting into a new threat, every sound a warning. My fingers curled around my own dagger, my grip tightening as I prepared to fight for my life. He took a slow, deliberate step forward, his dagger glinting in the faint light, his eyes filled with malice. The last thing I saw before he lunged was the faint, dying light of the waterfall behind us, fading into the dark. I tripped backward over a jagged rock, my breath catching in my throat. Lucian closed in, his dagger glinting in the dim cave light, a cruel smirk on his scarred face. Nemesis stood at the cave mouth, fire streaming from his jaws, yelling about his twisted plan. My hand scrambled for a loose rock, my only chance to buy time. I hurled the rock at him and he darted back, giving me a split second to run. I bolted for the cave entrance, my boots slamming against the rocky ground. But Nemesis was there, blocking my way, his red eyes glowing with rage. He bared his claws, and I thought this was the end for me. Then, crack! The cave roof split open and silver scales glinted through the dust. It was Draco. His massive claws reached down, ready to strike our enemies. I couldn't believe it, my rescue was here, in the form of a silver dragon. Chaos erupted as dust filled the cave. Lucian stumbled back, stunned by the sudden arrival. Draco's golden eyes locked on Nemesis, a roar rumbling through the cave. The silver dragon crashed through the roof fully, his wings spreading to fill the space. Nemesis roared back, fire gathering in his throat for another attack. I scrambled behind a rock, watching as the two dragons prepared to clash. The air crackled with tension as they circled each other, ready to fight to the death. Suddenly, my silver dragon mark flared brighter, warm energy spreading through me. Draco tensed, ready to strike, and I knew we might just make it out alive. His wings blocked out the dim light, casting a shadow over the furious Nemesis. Lucian slipped away into the shadows, abandoning his ally as the tide turned. Nemesis stepped back, realizing he was now outmatched and completely alone. I reached out toward Draco, calling to him through the chaos. The cave held its breath, waiting for the final, decisive moment to unfold. I watched Draco charge straight at Nemesis, both crashing hard into the cave wall. Before I could react, Lucian's grip locked around my arm, yanking me toward that glowing crystal. That crystal had a dragon-shaped slot. It felt like it was calling to something deep in me. I drove my foot hard into his shin, finally breaking free from his iron hold. I grabbed a loose rock, slamming it right into his temple as hard as I could. His body went limp instantly, crumbling to the ground unconscious. But Nemesis broke free from Draco's grip, rage burning in his red eyes. He unleashed a burst of flames straight toward that cursed crystal. The crystal blazed even brighter, its glow almost blinding me. My dragon mark on my collarbone burned like fire, thrumming in time with the crystal's glow. I couldn't move my feet, something was pulling me toward that crystal, hard. Draco yelled my name, sprinting toward me to pull me away. His hand was just inches from mine, but the crystal's pull was too strong. My hand was almost touching that dragon-shaped slot. I could feel its power surging into me. The crystal's light exploded outward, filling every corner of the dark cave. I screamed as the power flooded through me, my mark felt like it was burning through my skin. Nemesis laughed from the shadows. This was exactly what he'd wanted all along. Draco's roar echoed through the cave, his eyes wild with fear for me. I was lifting off the ground, completely trapped by the crystal's pull. I couldn't fight it anymore. I could feel the crystal's power merging with mine. I had no idea what would happen next. I was being violently pulled toward that eerie crystal, my dragon mark blazing like wildfire. The crystal's dragon-shaped slot glowed, calling out to the mark I'd carried for months. My mark flared silver, matching the crystal's light. This was no coincidence. I pressed my palm to the slot, and a shockwave of power surged through my entire body. The entire cave was bathed in silver light like daybreak in the darkest pit. Then came Nemesis's scream. He was in agony, clutching his chest like it was splitting open. His charred black scales turned gray, draining of the dark power that made him unbeatable. His red eyes dimmed, and for the first time, he looked truly defeated. I turned to see Lucian waking, his black dragon tattoo starting to glow silver. The black ink faded completely, replaced by a silver mark just like mine. The cave shook violently, rocks crashing down from the ceiling. We had to get out now. A rock shard sliced my arm, but I didn't have time to feel the pain. Then Draco burst in, his armor dented from battle, yanking me toward the exit. His grip was iron tight, a silent promise he'd get me out alive. We ran for the exit, rocks crashing behind us like a collapsing wall. But behind the falling rocks, we heard his laugh deep, twisted, full of malice. His red eyes glinted through the dust. He wasn't done with us, not by a long shot. I glanced back, my stomach dropping. This wasn't the end of him. We burst into the sunlight, gasping for air, but the echo of his laugh lingered. My mark dimmed, but I knew this wasn't over. Nemesis would be back. Lucian stared at his new silver mark, his expression unreadable. Was he truly free now? He touched the mark, and I saw a flicker of confusion, maybe regret. Draco turned me around, his face soft with worry as he looked at my bleeding arm. His fingertip brushed my wound, and the bleeding stopped instantly. Dragon magic, subtle but powerful. We looked back at the cave, now sealed by falling rocks, but we all knew Nemesis wasn't trapped forever. We stumbled out of that hellhole, choking on dust and fear. And there he was, Lucian, but not the monster I knew. His black tattoo had turned silver. He wasn't our enemy anymore. He told me his real name was Kale, and he'd been forced to work for Nemesis. His family was held hostage. He had no choice. He handed me a map marked with the general's office, our next target. We had a way to turn the tide, but then the dizziness hit. 1 second I was standing there, the next, I was 7 years old again. I was back in our old cottage, with Mom standing over me. She held out that silver dragon necklace, the one I wore every day. She placed it around my neck, and told me the truth I'd forgotten. "You will unite our two worlds, Liana," she said. "It's your destiny." I didn't understand then, but now, every piece clicked into place. I jolted back to reality, my mark burning brighter than ever before. That necklace wasn't just a trinket, it was the key to everything. Draco caught me as I swayed, his eyes filled with worry and hope. We knew what we had to do. The general wouldn't see us coming. That map was our ticket to taking down the traitor general. Mom was right. I would unite our worlds, no matter what it took. And so, we set off toward the military base and the final fight for our future. I woke up in the Dragon Kingdom's guest chamber, my head still throbbing from earlier dizziness. Draco was right beside me, holding a cup of warm herb tea, waiting for me to wake. He'd stayed by my side since we returned, never leaving me alone for a second. I told him about my full memory mother's locket, her words to unite our worlds. I knew that memory was our only chance to convince humans we weren't their enemies. The locket warmed against my chest, like my mother was watching over us. Kale was updating the healer on the curse we'd purged from the northern caves. She brewed a tonic to help dragons still recovering from Nemesis's curse. This chamber once felt like a prison. Now it felt like the only home I had. Draco squeezed my hand, his golden eyes shining with a hope I hadn't seen in ages. But our peace shattered when the blue-scaled dragon burst through the door, yelling in panic. He screamed that human soldiers were marching toward the northern border, armed for war. My silver dragon mark flared to life, burning hot as it warned of incoming danger. Draco's expression shifted instantly, his armor materializing on his body as he prepared to fight. We ran toward the castle gates, our footsteps echoing through the stone halls. When we reached the gates, my heart dropped. Hundreds of human soldiers lined the horizon. They carried anti-dragon rifles, weapons built specifically to kill my dragon friends. The scar-faced general led them, a cruel sneer on his face as he stared at our gates. Draco shifted to his dragon form, standing in front of me to shield me from the threat. The air crackled with tension. This was the moment we'd feared since the rebellion began. But I wouldn't let fear win. We had to try to talk, not just fight. Dragon guards lined the walls, their wings spread, ready to defend our home at any cost. I held up my mother's locket, hoping they'd recognize the symbol of our old alliance. Some soldiers hesitated, their gazes locking on the locket, memories of the old alliance surfacing. But the general just waved his hand, ordering them to advance. No mercy, no negotiation. We stood before the Dragon Kingdom gates, staring down an entire human army. Hundreds of armed soldiers, all ready to strike us down without mercy. Leading them was the scar-faced general, clutching a dragon-killing rifle. I stepped forward, and my mother's necklace flared to life like never before. Every soldier's weapon started shaking power they couldn't control. The general snarled, raising his rifle like he could shoot down our magic. Draco stepped up beside me, his armor's dragon carvings glowing in response. My dragon mark on my collarbone flared too, matching the necklace's light. The soldiers panicked, some even dropped their shaking guns. I held up my mother's necklace, ready to tell them the truth. This necklace belonged to my mother. She built an alliance between humans and dragons. She didn't fight dragons, she stood with them to stop the war. Some soldiers hesitated, lowering their guns like they finally understood. But the general snapped, screaming at his men to stand firm. That's when Kael stepped forward, holding a scroll the general couldn't deny. It had his signature next to Nemesis's black dragon symbol. He was working with our enemy. The soldiers erupted in shock. They'd been fighting for a traitor all along. The general's face twisted with rage. He didn't care who knew his secret now. He pulled a grenade from his belt, his fingers tightening around it. And then, he bit the pin out with his teeth. He was ready to burn it all down. Draco stepped in front of me, his armor flaring to shield us from the blast. If he couldn't take the Dragon Kingdom, he'd destroy it, and us with it. His own men ran, scrambling to get away from the madman they'd followed. My necklace blazed to life brighter than ever. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. I stepped forward, ready to stop him before he destroyed everything we'd fought for. The general's eyes burned with madness, like he wanted the destruction more than anything. We were stuck in a standoff, one wrong move, and we'd all be gone. Kale's hand hovered over his sword, ready to strike if the general made a move. He held the grenade out, the pin still caught on his teeth, ready to spit it out at any second. That grenade was live one wrong move, and we'd all be ash in the wind. 1 second I thought we'd won, the next Draco shoved me hard behind him. Before I could react, his body twisted and shifted, his armor splitting as he transformed. Silver scales burst through his skin, and I knew he was shifting to his true dragon form. Giant silver wings wrapped around me, shielding me completely from the impending blast. The grenade exploded in a deafening roar, fire and smoke filling the sky above us. The enemy general was thrown backward, his body slamming into the stone ground unconscious. One by one, the soldiers lowered their guns, their anger fading into confusion. Then one soldier dropped his rifle, and the rest followed, cheering loudly. They shouted that the general had betrayed them, that they didn't want to fight anymore. I stepped out from behind Draco's wings, my legs wobbly, but my resolve strong. I raised my voice, wanting every soldier to hear what I had to say. I told them we didn't have to be enemies, that we could build a peaceful alliance between humans and dragons. Some of them looked hopeful, like they wanted to believe me. My mother's dragon necklace glowed against my chest, giving me the strength to keep talking. But then a dark shadow covered the sky, and the air grew cold and still. I looked up, and my blood ran cold. Nemesis was alive, hovering above us. He held a vial of glowing dragon blood, its dark light pulsing with evil energy. The blood glowed brightly, and I knew he'd used it to make himself stronger, more dangerous. "This isn't over!" he roared, his voice echoing across the entire kingdom. I froze, realizing our fight for peace was far from over. This was only the beginning. My dragon mark blazed to life, a warning that the real battle was about to begin. Draco let out a deafening roar, his wings beating the air as he prepared to face Nemesis again. After all the bloodshed, dragons and humans finally celebrated side by side in the castle hall. Kale was bridging our worlds, teaching human soldiers our dragon customs and traditions. The Dragon Council voted humans would finally be allowed to enter our kingdom freely. The green-scaled healer approached, carrying a cup of glowing dragon wine just for me. Draco kissed my forehead, and for a second, I thought all our troubles were over. As he pulled back, my dragon mark glowed brighter than ever, warm energy flooding through me. The healer smiled as I took the cup. The wine glowed like liquid starlight in my palm. Every corner of the hall buzzed with laughter dragons clinking goblets, humans sharing stories with scaled allies. Then, a deafening crash split the air. The white-scaled messenger had burst through the doors. Her voice boomed with panic. "There's a violent disturbance in the northern caves." My smile vanished. The northern caves, we'd thought they were safe after defeating Nemesis. Draco's hand tightened on my waist, his golden eyes hardening with unshakable resolve. The hall fell silent, then erupted in chaos, dragons shifting, soldiers grabbing their weapons. Kale stepped forward, hand on his sword, ready to fly north at a moment's notice. I gripped the glowing cup tight, my mark thrumming we wouldn't let our peace be stolen so easily. The white-scaled messenger dropped a scroll at our feet, proof dark forces were stirring again. Draco knelt to pick it up, his movements tense. We both knew this was only the start. Dragons took to the air, their wings beating the sky as they raced toward the northern caves. Draco looked at me, and I knew we were heading north too, no matter what waited there. As we walked toward the doors, the weight of what we'd built hung over us. We wouldn't let it fall. My mother's dragon necklace warmed against my chest, as if she was guiding me forward. Outside, the sky filled with dragons, their silver scales glinting as we prepared to fly north. We ventured into the northern caves, but we had no idea what nightmare waited inside. Draco, Kale, and I held our weapons tight, every shadow feeling like a threat. Then we saw it, a ritual circle made of dragon bones, glowing faintly in the dark. The walls were stained with old blood, and my skin crawled with dread. And there he was, Nemesis, standing at the center of the circle, holding a vial of dragon blood. That vial held corrupted dragon blood, his weapon, to turn every dragon against us. He laughed, taunting us about destroying the alliance we'd fought so hard to build. The bones were old, cracked, but still hummed with dark magic. Draco drew his dragon god sword, the silver blade glowing with holy light. We stood our ground, ready to fight to protect everything we'd built. His red eyes glowed with rage as he prepared to shatter our peace forever. The circle was a prison of bones, built to unleash chaos on our united worlds. Then he threw the vial straight into the center of the bone circle. The ground shook violently, cracks splitting open to spew dark smoke. A blast of black light erupted, so bright it made my eyes water. The light shot upward, toward the castle we'd worked so hard to protect. We watched in horror as it soared toward the castle, our worst fear coming true. My silver dragon mark blazed to life, burning like fire against my skin. Draco's jaw tightened, and Kale gripped his sword harder. We knew we had to act fast. Nemesis laughed, loud and cruel, as we realized the battle was far from over. His dragon scales were black, cracked, but still strong enough to threaten us all. The cave roof cracked, rocks falling as the dark magic tore through the stone. I gripped my dagger tighter, determined to stop him no matter what. I stepped forward, my mark leading me toward the dark magic. The castle's defense lights flickered on, but we knew it might not be enough. We raced back to the castle only to find absolute chaos unfolding before our eyes. Black-scaled dragons were attacking innocent people, leaving chaos in their wake. Kale didn't hesitate. He grabbed his sword and stood with the human soldiers. Draco charged toward the doors, ready to take flight and stop the madness. He shifted into his silver dragon form, soaring straight for the rogue dragons. I stood in the hall's center, focusing all my energy on the mark, glowing on my collarbone. The dragon mark burned brighter, warm energy spreading through my entire body. I closed my eyes, letting the power guide me toward a way to break the curse. A burst of silver light erupted from my chest, flooding the entire hall with its glow. The black-scaled dragons froze their scales, shifting back to their natural colors, the curse broken. The human soldiers lowered their weapons, stunned as the dragons calmed down. Before we could breathe easy, a deafening crash shattered the silence. Nemesis burst through the doors, his half-dragon, half-human form towering over us, red eyes glowing with rage. I stepped back, gripping my dagger tightly, my heart racing at the sight of him. His red eyes blazed with fury. He wasn't going to let our victory stand. Kale and the soldiers raised their weapons, ready to fight this new threat. Draco flew back into the hall, landing between us and Nemesis, ready to defend what we'd saved. My dragon mark flared to life again, ready to unleash the purifying light once more. Nemesis roared, his dragon claws extended, ready to strike and destroy everything we'd built. The hall fell silent, the air thick with tension. Our final battle with Nemesis was about to begin. I thought my life ended when Nemesis's clawed hand shot straight for my face, but Draco slammed into him, sending us all crashing toward the window. I scrambled to the window, heart racing as they clashed in the sky. Nemesis's half-human form made him faster, stronger. Draco was struggling. Draco's armor was dented, his movements growing sluggish. His hybrid form gave him an edge Draco couldn't match alone. I spotted a rope hanging on the wall, my only chance to help. I grabbed it, my fingers tightening around the rough fiber. I tied it tight around my waist, ready to take the leap. I climbed out the broken window, heart pounding in my ears. The ground rushed up as I slid down the rope as fast as I could. I hit the ground hard, rolling to absorb the impact. I looked up just in time to see Draco take a brutal hit. Nemesis slammed into him, sending Draco flying toward the castle walls. The sound of his impact echoed through the courtyard. I ran toward him, fear and rage mixing in my chest. His golden eyes were dim, blood trickling from his lip. Nemesis circled above us, a triumphant snarl on his face. Then my dragon mark flared to life, power surging through me. I pulled my dagger, ready to fight back with everything I had. The blade glinted in the sun, our last hope against Nemesis. Nemesis dove toward us, ready to finish what he started. Draco pushed me behind him, ready to take the hit, but my mark blazed brighter, unlocking power I never knew I had. I grabbed the spear from the ground, my mark blazing, necklace burning like fire. Every nerve screamed as I tensed, ready to strike the monster that had ruined everything. The spear sliced through the air straight for Nemesis's unprotected shoulder. It hit home. A howl of agony tore from Nemesis's throat as he reeled back. Enraged, he spun, unleashing a wave of searing fire straight at me. Then I heard Draco's roar, scales blazing brighter than ever as he rose. The curse is weakening. He can't hold on much longer. We have to finish this. My mark burned hotter than ever, silver light pouring from it like a river. I stepped forward, letting the light wrap around the monster who'd caused so much pain. His body seized, black scales fading to silver as the curse fought back then broke. Stone crept up his limbs, turning him to a lifeless statue before our eyes. With a final crack, he crumpled to the ground, silent, still, finally defeated. We did it. We finally beat him. Or so I thought. A shadow passed overhead, something dark, familiar, and very much alive. A black-scaled dragon, one we'd missed, still cursed, still loyal to the old rebellion. It vanished into the clouds, a reminder the war wasn't over, not yet. I clenched my necklace, resolve flooding me. We wouldn't let this setback break us. Draco nuzzled my hand, his eyes softening. We were in this together, no matter what. We stood together, watching the horizon. Whatever came next, we'd face it as one. My mark blazed, a promise we'd finish this, and we'd build a world worth fighting for. The battle was over, but my mark still burned proof we'd changed our fates forever. Dragons and humans weren't enemies anymore. We tended to each other's wounds like family. We had proof the human general had betrayed his own treason, written in dragon ink. Just when we thought we could breathe easy, a new threat slithered into our hall. Draco stood tall on the throne, but I could see the fatigue in his eyes. We were still broken from the last fight. The rebellion is over, Draco declared. The curse that bound us is finally broken. My mark flared brighter than ever, a bond no curse could ever undo again. Cheers erupted around us, dragons roared, humans clapped. For the first time, we were truly equals. Kale stepped forward, holding the traitor's scroll. I'll deliver this to the human government, he said firmly. But the white-scaled messenger's scroll held a darker, more dangerous message. She approached the throne, wings folded in respect, and spoke the words we all feared. Draco's face hardened instantly. He knew exactly what this new threat meant for us. The hall went dead silent. Every dragon and human froze, waiting for the final blow to fall. I squeezed Draco's arm, my mark burning bright. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. The messenger's eyes were filled with worry. She didn't want to bring us this terrible news. We were battered, bruised, and barely recovered from the last battle. We had no strength left to fight again. The general's signature was clear proof he'd betrayed both humans and dragons alike. Kale turned to leave, ready to deliver the truth to his own kind, no matter the cost. Draco stood tall on the throne, but I could see he was as scared as I was. We weren't ready for this. My mother's necklace grew warm, as if she was warning me this was only the beginning of our troubles. Our blue-scaled general stepped forward, ready to fight again despite his fresh wounds. But Draco held up a hand we couldn't rush into battle, not when we were so vulnerable. Human soldiers stood too, gripping their weapons. We were in this together, no matter what came. I held Draco's hand tighter. Our bond was our greatest strength, now more than ever before. Dragons and humans stood as one. The Eastern dragons were coming, and we'd be ready, no matter the cost we had to pay. The Dragon Council's arguing again, war or peace. Our fate hangs in the balance. Draco's tense, his golden eyes sharp as he listens to the heated shouts. That scroll? It's a direct threat from the Eastern Dragon Kingdom. Kale bursts in with a map they're attacking at dawn. We're running out of time. The room erupts. War seems inevitable. But I have an idea. I step forward, voice steady. What if we try peace instead? I suggest a peace delegation, me, Draco, and Kale. We can talk, not fight. The council votes. For the first time in years, they choose peace. Relief washes over me. Maybe we can stop this before it starts. But our hope is short-lived. The blue-scaled dragon bursts through the doors. A human delegation is here, he roars. My heart skips a beat. The doors swing open. Bright light floods in, and I see her. Her eyes exactly like my mother's. I freeze, unable to speak. She steps forward, voice calm. I know about your mother's alliance. My dragon mark glows brighter. She knows. How does she know? I walk toward her, Draco right behind me. I need answers. I want to help, she says. To fight the Eastern dragons with you. The council murmurs. Can we trust her? I don't know, but we have no choice. I look into her eyes, seeing my mother's kindness. I nod. We could use your help. Draco's golden eyes narrow. He doesn't trust her either, but we have to try. We're forming a new alliance. But will it be enough to stop the Eastern dragons? I never thought my aunt, who once fought us, would hold me like this. She had so much to tell me, starting with a locket my mom left behind. This locket held more than just a photo, it held my mom's last wish. She said mom had told her about my destiny long before I knew it. Turns out she'd joined rebels to take down the corrupt human general. Draco thanked her, knowing we might need her army if negotiations failed. We began preparing immediately for our trip to the Eastern Dragon Kingdom. When I put on the locket, I felt it warm against my chest, like mom was close. We headed to the skies, ready to face whatever waited in the east. The wind rushed past us as we soared over forests and mountains. I thought we were ready for anything. Until I saw the fleet. Eastern dragons with scales like burning iron, forming a massive fleet. They were waiting for us, a wall of scales and power blocking our path. My heart sank, but I knew we couldn't turn back now. Draco let out a low roar, warning them we weren't here to start a war. The locket grew warmer, like mom was giving me strength to face this. We were outnumbered, but we had something they didn't: unity between dragons and humans. I was ready to face whatever came next. For mom, for Draco, for our united world. But I could tell from their stares, they weren't going to listen easily. The sun began to set, casting long shadows over the battlefield we were about to enter. My dragon mark glowed faintly, a reminder of the bond that had gotten me this far. Draco began to move forward, ready to meet their leader and try one last time for peace. Their flagship loomed ahead, a massive structure covered in red scales and dragon carvings. We moved closer, and I could feel the tension in the air thick enough to cut with a sword. I held the locket tight, praying mom was right about my destiny, that I could prevent this war. We stood before the Eastern Dragon Kingdom gates, surrounded by red-scaled warriors ready to strike. Draco stood at my side in battle armor, Kale beside us outnumbered, outgunned, but not out of hope. Perched high on the wall, their king watched with eyes as cold as the mountain ice. My locket began to glow, and every red dragon's weapon rattled in their grasp. Draco called out our peace offer, but the king only sneered he wanted war, not truce. He raised a claw, barking orders his red scales flashed, and the dragons charged. I stepped forward, my silver dragon mark blazing like a star in the dark. A burst of silver light exploded from my chest, washing over every dragon in sight. One by one, their red scales shifted to silver. They stopped, confused, their rage fading. But the king? His scales stayed blood red, his eyes still cold as ever. He laughed, a harsh rumbling sound. He was immune to my power. I froze. My purification power never failed before. What was he? Draco stepped in front of me, sword drawn, ready to face this unbeatable foe. His red eyes glowed with malice, and he leaped down from the wall, ready to fight. The ground shook as he landed, his massive form towering over us. This was going to be a fight we might not win. We stood our ground, weapons raised. As the red-scaled king stared us down, our fate hung in the balance. But then my mark flared brighter. Maybe there was another way, a power I hadn't tapped into yet. Kale readied his sword, ready to back us up. We weren't going down without a fight. Draco's sword glinted in the sun, his golden eyes locked on the king. He wouldn't let anyone hurt me. The king grinned, confident in his victory, but he had no idea what I was capable of. The red-scaled king charged at me. Sword raised, his rage was impossible to ignore. Draco reacted instantly. He slammed into the king, sending both crashing toward the gates. The impact shattered the gates, and the fight raged on around us. Kale grabbed a fallen sword, fighting alongside the now purified Eastern dragons. I stood, frozen in the chaos, confused. Why couldn't my powers affect the king at all? Then my gaze locked on something on his neck, something wrong, something dark. A black dragon tattoo, glowing faintly. It was Nemesis's mark. I knew it instantly. Kale and the purified dragons fought fiercely, cutting through enemy ranks. He touched the tattoo, a cruel smile spreading across his scaled face. I grabbed my dagger tightly. I had to destroy that cursed mark. I ran toward him as fast as I could, every muscle burning with urgency. But he was faster. His fist slammed into my stomach, sending me flying. I gasped for air as I soared through the air, the world spinning wildly around me. As I fell, I saw him pull out a vial of glowing black blood, Nemesis's blood. He'd been using it to make himself immune to my purification powers. I crashed into the dirt, my body screaming in agony, my mind racing. Just as the king stepped toward me, Draco descended from the sky to protect me. Draco slammed into him, his silver claws digging into the king's scaled shoulder. KL and the purified dragons closed in, trapping the king in a circle. My silver dragon mark dimmed. I felt my power slipping against that dark blood. I clutched my mother's dragon necklace, its warmth seeping into my cold hands. I pushed myself to my feet, my resolve hardening this wasn't over yet. The king roared, trapped, but still full of unbridled fury. I tossed the vial to Kale. "Find a counter to this dark blood," I shouted. Kale caught it and ran to the healer dragons. We needed a way to fight back. Draco and I turned back to the king. We had to hold him off. His red eyes glowed with rage, but we stood our ground together. Reinforcements arrived, dragons and humans fighting side by side, united. My silver dragon mark flared to life. Maybe my power wasn't completely useless after all. I raised my hand, silver light pouring from my mark, ready to fight back. The king stepped back, shocked my power was still a threat to him. Draco charged forward, sword swinging, keeping the king occupied. Kale and the healer dragons worked fast, trying to find a way to counter the dark blood. My mother's necklace grew warmer, as if she was guiding me, giving me strength. Our forces pushed forward, slowly gaining the upper hand. The king trapped. The king's grip on his sword tightened. He knew he was losing this fight. I walked toward him, silver light wrapping around me, ready to end this. He looked at me, a mix of rage and fear in his glowing red eyes. The healer dragon held up a vial of silver liquid. "We found the counter!" she yelled. Kale ran toward me with the vial. "This will break his immunity," he shouted. I grabbed the vial, my hand steady. This was our chance to end the king's reign of terror. I threw the vial at the king, watching it soar through the air toward him. The vial shattered, and the silver liquid burned his scales. His immunity was gone. Draco charged forward, sword pressed to the king's neck. "It's over," he growled. Our forces cheered we'd won, but I knew the real threat, Nemesis, was still out there. I looked toward the horizon, worried Nemesis wasn't done with us yet, not by a long shot. Draco stood beside me, and we both knew this was just one battle in a much larger war. My mother's necklace glowed softly, a reminder that we had to keep fighting for her. We entered the Eastern Dragon Kingdom, ready to help rebuild and prepare for what came next. My silver mark glowed steadily, a promise I would protect both worlds, no matter what. I collapsed in the Eastern Dragon Kingdom's courtyard, my locket slipping open to show my mom's photo. Then, golden light exploded from it, wrapping around the Eastern Dragon King like a glowing cage. His black dragon tattoo on his neck began to burn, smoking like cursed embers. His bright red scales faded to ash gray, the evil draining out of his body. He screamed, clutching his neck like something was being ripped out of him. Black blood, Nemesis's cursed blood, dripped from his raw wound. Draco stood over him, his sword pressed to the king's throat, ready to strike if needed. The purified Eastern dragons knelt, swearing their loyalty to our alliance. But then, a silver-scaled messenger dragon came screaming down from the clouds. She yelled that a full human fleet was approaching fast. I scanned the horizon, and there it was, a wall of human ships cutting through the waves. My blood turned to ice when I saw who led the fleet. It was my aunt, the woman who promised to stand with us against the darkness. But her next words shattered every hope I had. She'd come to destroy all dragons. Her soldiers raised their dragon-killing rifles, ready to rain destruction on our kingdom. The Eastern dragons tensed for battle, and Draco stepped beside me, his sword glinting. My dragon mark blazed to life, burning hot as I prepared to fight the family I trusted. Draco shifted into his dragon form, his massive silver wings blotting out the sun. The first cannonballs were already soaring toward the castle our alliance was about to break. But I wouldn't let this be the end, not after everything we'd fought for. I thought we'd found peace, but human cannons shattered the Eastern Dragon Castle walls. My aunt stood on the lead ship, barking orders to destroy everything we built. Draco didn't hesitate. He shifted into his silver dragon form, ready to fight back. He soared toward the ships, fire erupting from his jaws to stop the assault. I grabbed my dagger and ran for the shore. Someone had to stop my aunt's madness. I commandeered a small boat, determined to reach the lead ship and end this. Every stroke of the oar brought me closer to the ship that was tearing our worlds apart. My aunt spotted me first. She raised her pistol, ready to shoot me down without hesitation. Just as she fired, a silver-scaled Eastern dragon swooped in to take the bullet for me. I scrambled onto the ship's deck, my heart pounding but my resolve unbroken. My aunt lunged and grabbed my arm, her grip like iron as she pulled me close. She pressed a dagger to my throat, her voice cold as ice as she spoke her twisted truth. My dragon mark flared to life no matter what. I wouldn't let her destroy our alliance. The soldiers stared, unsure who to follow. Our worlds hung in the balance. Draco circled above, keeping the other ships at bay so I could focus on my aunt. She spat that humans and dragons could never coexist, that our alliance was a lie. I struggled to break free, knowing I had to show her she was wrong, that we could live in peace. The silver dragon that saved me watched from the water, injured but still ready to help. The battlefield stretched out below us, a chaotic mix of fire, metal, and dragon scales. I grabbed her wrist, pushing the dagger away. This wasn't over, and I wasn't going to lose. Her pistol slipped from her grasp, her shocked eyes showing she didn't expect me to fight back. I told her we could fix this, that dragons and humans were meant to stand together. In the distance, Draco had driven back another ship, its cannons falling silent at last. I kicked her shin as hard as I could, finally breaking her iron grip on me. She reeled back, snarling like a wild animal at being humiliated. She whipped out a dagger, her eyes promising I'd pay for this. I didn't freeze. I spun, spotting a thick rope coiled on the deck. I grabbed it just as she lunged, the dagger slicing the air inches from my face. I looped the rope around her wrists, yanking it tight before she could react. She thrashed against the ropes, yelling that I'd regret crossing her. I stared her down, telling her humans and dragons could finally live in peace. She laughed, a harsh, bitter sound that made my skin crawl. I stepped closer, my voice sharp as I told her she was wrong. We'd already proven it. Before she could retort, a shadow fell over us. Draco had landed on the deck. His armor was dented, his eyes sharp with the edge of battle. The entire ship shuddered, and I realized it wasn't just Draco's arrival we were under attack. A cannonball had torn a hole in the hull, and cold ocean water was rushing in. Water spread across the deck fast, and I scrambled to higher ground, my boots sinking in the salt water. My silver dragon mark flared to life, warm energy pulsing through my chest like a warning. Draco moved toward the hull, his sword drawn to fend off any new threats. I didn't notice the ant working the ropes loose, her eyes fixed on the chaos around us. I turned just in time to see her yank free, and I lunged to stop her before she could escape. The ship listed sharply to one side, water rushing toward us faster than before. I grabbed her arm, yanking her back toward Draco as the ship creaked ominously. Draco growled, his body shifting as he prepared to turn into his dragon form to get us out. The hull split open further, the sound of twisting metal making my blood run cold. I clung to the rail, my legs shaking as the ship tilted so far I thought we'd capsize. The ant grinned, clearly delighted to see us struggle as the ship sank. Another cannonball streaked toward us. Our attackers weren't letting up. Draco met my eyes, and we both knew we couldn't stay a second longer. Water was up to my knees now, cold and heavy, weighing down my clothes. With a roar, Draco fully shifted into his dragon form, his massive silver wings blocking the sun. I dragged the aunt toward him, yanking her along as she tried to resist. A mast crashed down behind us, just missing our heels as we ran. My dragon mark blazed so bright I could barely see, power surging through me to protect us. Draco lowered his body, and I pushed the ant onto his back before clambering on myself. I clung to his scales, my knuckles white as he prepared to take off. The ship was almost completely on its side now, the ocean swallowing it piece by piece. With a powerful beat of his wings, Draco lifted us into the air, leaving the sinking ship behind. I looked back at the ship disappearing beneath the waves, my chest tight with relief and sadness. The ant stayed quiet, her head bowed, for once not fighting or snarling. Ahead, I could see the shoreline, the familiar shape of the Dragon Kingdom's mountains in the distance. My dragon mark dimmed, the warm power fading as the immediate danger passed. Draco adjusted his course, banking toward a clearing near the Eastern Dragon Kingdom. I relaxed my grip slightly, finally letting myself breathe after the chaos on the ship. Draco landed softly in the clearing, his wings folding against his body as we dismounted. The ant stood silent, staring out at the ocean where the ship had sunk. Draco and I locked eyes, wordlessly agreeing we'd have to deal with the aunt later. The forest was quiet around us, but I knew this wasn't the end of our troubles. I touched the dragon necklace around my neck, knowing my mother would be proud of how far I'd come. Draco shifted back to his human form, his armor clicking back into place. I stepped toward the ant, ready to hear what she had to say now that we were safe. As we turned to head toward the castle, a dark cloud gathered on the horizon. A new storm was coming. Just when we thought we'd drown, Draco shifted human to free my aunt. The ship was going under fast. We had to get off now. The hull creaked like it would split in two at any second. We scrambled into the lifeboat, our hands shaking as we pulled ourselves in. We watched as the ship vanished beneath the waves, smoke curling up behind us. My aunt broke down, sobbing about the government threatening her family. I squeezed her hand tight, promising we'd keep her family safe no matter what. Draco didn't say a word, just rowed steadily toward the shore. As we got closer, I spotted KL and the Eastern Dragons waiting on shore. Then, a blue-scaled dragon came soaring toward us, panic in its eyes. It roared that a joint army of humans and dragons was approaching from the west. We looked out, and there it was, an army with peace flags flying high. The flags had our joint symbol. They weren't here to fight. Humans and dragons marched side by side, united under one banner. I couldn't believe it all. The fighting might finally be over. Even Draco's hard expression softened at the sight of them. My aunt wiped her tears, finally letting herself hope for peace. We reached the shore, and Kale was there to meet us without hesitation. The remaining human soldiers stared, confused by what they were seeing. The peace flag fluttered in the wind, a symbol of everything we'd fought for. The army moved toward the soldiers, and for a moment, everything felt quiet. We stood ready, dragons and humans side by side, our swords raised as one. For the first time in centuries, we weren't enemies, we were allies, bound by a fragile hope. My aunt stood beside me, her past failures weighing on her, ready to make amends. We walked toward the remaining human soldiers, our fate hanging on every word we spoke. I held my breath, wondering if they'd listen, if peace was really possible. She told them how the human general had held her family hostage, forcing her to betray us. She had no choice, her children's lives were on the line, and she couldn't refuse. I spoke up, telling them of our fight for peace, of all we'd lost to the conflict. Slowly, anger faded to doubt. One by one, they lowered their guns, their resolve breaking. Their leader dropped his rifle, the sound echoing across the shore. He nodded, a silent promise of peace. Cheers erupted loud and bright, echoing over the waves. We'd done it, we'd forged peace. But just as we celebrated, a shadow fell over us, and a new figure landed nearby. It was a silver-scaled dragon from the Eastern Kingdom, holding a scroll of alliance. The scroll bore their kingdom's mark. They wanted to join our alliance, to stand with us. Draco's eyes widened, then softened into a rare smile. Our little alliance was growing. I squeezed my aunt's hand, warmth spreading through me. For the first time, I dared to hope for a real future. Together, we were building something no one thought possible, a world where dragons and humans could coexist. The scroll changed hands, a silent promise of unity between our three kingdoms. The cheers grew louder, echoing across the shores of our new united world. But as the light from my mark brightened, a chill ran down my spine. I knew this was just the beginning. I stood beside the throne, my mother's locket warm, as dragons and humans celebrated our peace. Dragons clinked goblets with humans, something I'd once thought impossible. Draco and the Eastern Dragon King led our celebration, their bond a symbol of our new unity. Then, Kale approached, his steps slow, carrying something that would shake everything. He held out a dragon-shaped crown, and my breath caught at the weight of it. The Dragon Council wanted me to be their queen, the human voice in their dragon kingdom. My dragon mark flared to life, as if it was singing in agreement with their choice. The Dragon Council nodded, their scales glinting as the crowd cheered my name. But the joy shattered in an instant. A cold, dark shadow covered the hall. A roar shook the stone walls, a sound I'd prayed I'd never hear again. Nemesis burst through the doors, his half-dragon form more terrifying than I remembered. He was followed by a horde of cursed, black-scaled dragons, ready to burn everything we built. Panic exploded through the hall, but Draco stepped in front of me, ready to fight. His red eyes glowed with rage as he snarled his terrible plan. He'd gathered a new army of cursed dragons, determined to tear our alliance to shreds. I grabbed my dagger, my mark flaring bright as I prepared to defend our peace. Draco drew his dragon god sword, his armor glinting, ready to face the monster again. His golden eyes blazed with resolve. He wouldn't let Nemesis destroy what we'd fought for. The hall split into two sides, the fate of our united worlds hanging in the balance. This was only the beginning. The war to save our alliance had just restarted. I thought the battle was over, until Nemesis unleashed his fiery rage straight at us. But Draco didn't hesitate. He shifted into his silver dragon form and charged straight for Nemesis. I grabbed the dragon crown from the floor, my mark already burning with power I didn't know I had. As I placed the crown on my head, my silver mark blazed so bright it lit up the entire hall. A wave of silver light erupted from my chest, washing over every cursed dragon in the room. One by one, their black scales shifted to silver, the curse broken at last. Nemesis screamed in agony, his own scales turning silver as the curse fled his body. He collapsed to the ground, unconscious, his reign of terror finally over. Dragons and humans alike cheered, tears of relief mixing with shouts of victory. But the celebration was cut short. My white-scaled messenger emerged, holding a sealed scroll. Her expression told me everything before I even read it. This was no peace message. I took the scroll with trembling hands, my heart already sinking with dread. When I read the words, my blood ran cold. Distant human kingdoms had captured my aunt. They demanded I surrender all dragons, or they'd execute her at dawn. The hall went silent, our hard-won peace hanging by a single thread. My silver mark dimmed, as if even it felt the weight of this impossible choice. Draco stepped beside me, his silver scales still glowing, but his eyes filled with worry. Kale looked just as horrified. We all knew what this demand really meant. Peace wasn't enough for some humans. They still wanted dragons under their boot. But I wouldn't let them take everything we built, even if it meant risking everything. The messenger stood silently, knowing she'd delivered a sentence as much as a message. Draco and I locked eyes. We both knew what we had to do, no matter the cost. We sat in the council chamber, arguing fiercely over how to save my aunt. The Eastern Dragon King slammed his fist, demanding we launch an all-out attack. But I refused. Another war would destroy everything we'd built. Draco had a better idea: split our forces. He'd lead the rescue team, and I'd lead the negotiation team to try one last peaceful chance. But before we could finalize the plan, a crash shook the room. The blue-scaled dragon burst in, roaring that there was a spy in our ranks. We followed his gaze to the wall. There was Nemesis's black dragon symbol. My blood ran cold. That mark meant one terrible thing. Nemesis wasn't unconscious at all. He'd been watching us this whole time. Panic spread through the chamber. Our every move had been monitored. Draco's hand tightened on his sword, his golden eyes blazing with fury. Kale looked at me, his scarred face filled with worry. What do we do now? That symbol wasn't just a warning, it was a message. I took a deep breath. We couldn't follow our original plan anymore. We had to adapt, and fast. Nemesis knew everything we were planning. I gripped my dagger tighter. This time, we'd be the ones to surprise him. Draco led his rescue team toward the exit, ready to strike. The blue-scaled dragon stood guard, his eyes scanning every shadow for threats. And I stayed behind, gathering my negotiation team. But I knew this was only the beginning. I sprinted to the dungeon, heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. Nemesis's cell stood wide open, and there was no sign of him anywhere. A crumpled note lay on the stone floor, marked with a black dragon symbol I feared. My fingers trembled as I reached for it. Every instinct screamed danger. The words burned into my brain. I have your aunt. Come alone to the northern cliffs, or she dies. Draco grabbed my arm, his voice sharp with rage. He knew it was a trap. It's a death sentence, he snarled. He wants you alone and vulnerable. But I couldn't leave her. She was family, the only blood I had left. I turned toward the door, my mind made up. I was going no matter what. I grabbed my dagger from my belt, the familiar weight, a small, cold comfort. And then I took the crown, my power, my duty, all wrapped up in metal and stone. Draco's hand clamped down on my arm, stopping me before I could step outside. I'm not letting you go alone, he said, his voice softening with worry. He would hide in the shadows, stay invisible, and follow every step of the way. We moved toward the exit, our steps quiet but determined, ready for whatever waited. The first light of dawn spilled through the doorway, painting the sky pink and gold. We stood at the edge, ready to take to the sky and face the danger ahead. Draco's skin began to shimmer, scales forming as he prepared to shift into his dragon form. With a roar, he shifted into his silver dragon form, his wings blocking the rising sun. We soared toward the northern cliffs, the sun blazing behind us. But I couldn't shake the fear of a trap. The cliffs loomed in the distance, dark and foreboding in the early morning light. My grip on the crown tightened, my mark glowing brighter as we drew closer to the danger. Draco's wings beat powerfully, carrying us faster toward the fate that waited for us. I walked toward Nemesis on the northern cliff, hands raised, heart pounding in my throat. I knew he was stronger than ever, but I had no choice but to face him. He laughed, boasting he'd fed on the curse, growing completely unstoppable. Then Draco struck diving from the sky, shifting to dragon form to crash into him. The impact shook the cliff, a deafening crash ringing through the air. I didn't waste a second sprinting toward my aunt tied to a stone pillar. She looked terrified, her wrists raw from the ropes holding her captive. I fumbled with the ropes, desperate to set her free before Nemesis turned back. Go! Run and don't look back! I yelled, shoving her towards safety. But Nemesis wasn't finished. He grabbed Draco mid-air, slamming him into the cliff face. His claws raked across Draco's wing, tearing through scales and flesh with a sickening sound. Draco roared in agony, his silver scales dimming as blood stained his wing. My silver mark blazed brighter than ever, power surging through me as I watched him suffer. I ran to him, ignoring the danger, desperate to help the dragon I loved. The cliff felt like a battlefield, our victory slipping away right before my eyes. Nemesis grinned, thinking he'd won, his red eyes glowing with cruel triumph. But I wasn't ready to give up, not for him, not for our united worlds. I focused all my power on the mark, praying it would give me strength to fight back. A silver light erupted from my chest, wrapping around me like a protective shield. Now it was my turn to fight to protect everything we'd built together. He didn't expect me to fight back, his confident grin fading into shock. I could feel the power flowing through me, power to stand against the unstoppable Nemesis. I clamped the dragon crown on my head, ready to finish Nemesis once and for all. My mark blazed gold, a power I never knew I had surging through me. The light wrapped around Nemesis, and his scales started turning to stone right before my eyes. But then I saw him, Draco, his wings torn, barely breathing. I ran, my heart in my throat. His wings were shredded, his silver scales dulled. He looked like he might not make it. I pressed my hand to his chest, and my mark shifted warm, healing light pouring out. The light wrapped around him, and I watched, breath held, as it began to stitch his wings back together. His scales began to glint silver again, the cracks in his wings closing one by one. His breathing steadied, and those golden eyes I loved fluttered open. He was going to be okay. Then, I heard voices, human envoys, approaching us from the valley below. They held a scroll, sealed with the mark of the distant human kingdom. They said the kingdom had signed our alliance treaty they'd released my aunt's family. Tears burned my eyes. After everything, we finally had a chance at real peace. Draco squeezed my hand, his golden eyes soft. We'd fought so hard for this moment. For the first time in forever. I let myself believe we might actually win. My mother's necklace glowed against my chest, like she was here, cheering us on. The envoys smiled, gesturing to the treaty. It was real, this wasn't a trick. The sun peeked over the mountains, painting the sky orange. A new day was starting. Draco tested his wings, a small smile on his face. He was fully healed. We looked out at the worlds we were uniting, and for the first time, I felt truly hopeful. Nemesis let out a final roar, and his stone body crumbled to dust at my feet. I stared at the dust where he'd stood, relief warring with a strange kind of sadness. My mark dimmed back to its soft silver glow, the power receding like a tide. I knelt beside Draco, running a hand over his now soft scales, making sure every wound was gone. He reached up, brushing a strand of hair from my face, his touch warm and familiar. I never thought I'd see this day, dragons and humans, celebrating as one. After all the bloodshed and fighting, we finally have the peace we dreamed of. Dragons playing with human kids, who would have thought this was possible? Draco's arm around my waist feels like the anchor I've always needed. For the first time in my life, I truly feel like I belong somewhere. And there's my aunt, her family finally safe, smiling like I haven't seen in years. She was once my enemy, but now, she's family again, and that's all that matters. I never thought we'd heal this rift, but love and hope found a way. The music's loud, the laughter's louder. I almost forgot all the darkness we faced. This crown isn't just metal, it's a promise to bridge our two worlds. It's forged from human and dragon metal, just like our bond unbreakable. My mark glows softly, a reminder of all I've lost and all I've gained. Every face here has a story of survival, of clinging to hope when all seemed lost. Dragons with folded wings dance with humans, no fear, no hatred, just joy. Even the grumpiest dragons are grinning today. They never thought peace was possible either. Draco spins me, his golden eyes soft for the first time in forever. This is the peace we fought for. His hand in mine feels like home, a home I never thought I'd ever have. In this moment, I thought nothing could ever break us, or so I foolishly believed. The sound of splintering wood shattered the joy in an instant. Our peace was already under threat. A white-scaled dragon burst through the doors, panic blazing in her blue eyes. She was yelling about strange, powerful energy readings in the northern mountains. The laughter died instantly. Dragons unfurled their wings. Humans reached for hidden weapons. Fear crept back in like a shadow. We all knew this peace was too good to last. Then I felt it, my mark burning hot, like fire, pulling me toward the north. It was like an invisible force was yanking me toward those mountains, no matter how hard I resisted. I knew what this meant. It was tied to my mother, the curse, everything I'd been through. Draco grabbed me, his voice tight with worry. "Leanna, what's happening to you?" I couldn't explain it, but I knew I had to go. I had to answer this call. The celebration was over. The peace we fought so hard for was about to be tested again. The dragon held out a scroll data from the northern mountains, readings off the charts. Energy signatures unlike anything we'd ever seen. Dark, ancient, familiar, like the curse itself. My hands shook as I took it. This wasn't just a disturbance. It was a call, directly to me. My mother's necklace burned against my chest, like she was urging me forward, guiding me. I looked at Draco, and he knew without me saying a word. We had to go to the north. The crowd parted silently, hope replaced by fear once more. We were their only hope. My aunt grabbed my hand, her voice steady and strong. "We'll hold down the fort. Go, and come back safe." I saw trust in her eyes, now a trust I never thought I'd ever earn from her. I nodded, and together with Draco, we stepped into the unknown, toward the mountains. The northern mountains were calling to me, and I had no choice but to answer. Little did I know, this call would unravel everything I thought I knew about my mother, the curse, and myself. The wind howled, carrying the scent of snow and something dark, ancient, and wrong. Draco's grip tightened, his golden eyes fixed on the mountains ahead, full of worry. Those mountains held secrets. Secrets my mother took to her grave, secrets I had to uncover. My mark burned hotter, pulling me faster, like it knew exactly what waited for us there. We walked toward the shadow, toward the truth, toward whatever fate had in store for us now. I was scared, terrified even, but I was ready. I had to be for everyone I loved. My mother's necklace burned brighter, like she was right there with me, guiding me every step. Draco unfurled his wings, ready to carry us faster. We didn't have a single second to waste. I climbed onto his back, gripping his scales tightly, as we prepared to fly into the unknown. As we flew toward the mountains, the sky turned darker, the air colder. The call only grew stronger, louder, more urgent. I stood on that northern cliff, the petrified remains of Nemesis still looming behind us. Draco was right beside me, his battle armor still dented from our brutal fight with Nemesis. Then it appeared a glowing silver portal, swirling like it had been waiting for us all along. I looked at Draco, my throat tight. I was terrified of what lay beyond that light. He nodded, his golden eyes steady. We faced this together. He didn't need to say the words. The moment my fingers brushed the portal, a warm hum spread through my entire body. We stepped forward together, the light swallowing us whole in an instant. We emerged into a room of pure, white, glowing orbs floating all around us like trapped stars. Each orb hummed softly, holding memories I didn't even know existed. One orb pulled me in, warm and familiar like my mother's hug. The orb flared to life, bathing the whole room in golden, warm light. Every orb in the room lit up, as if the walls themselves were breathing with memories. Then she appeared my mother, her form translucent, wrapped in silver light. I couldn't speak. Tears streamed down my face before I could even process it. Draco placed a hand on my shoulder. Silent support when I needed it most. She smiled, her voice soft as a whisper. "It's time you knew the truth about your power." The orbs hummed in time with her voice, as if they were eager to tell the story too. I stepped forward, my fear melting away. I was finally ready to know who I really was. As I moved closer, my dragon mark glowed brighter than ever, thrumming in time with the room. Then the entire room exploded in light, and I felt memories flooding into my mind like a tidal wave. Mother's spirit finally revealed why my power is one of a kind. I'm chosen by the dragon gods. She appeared in that glowing white chamber, ready to lay bare the truth about the ancient threat. This ancient shadow feeds on chaos, war, fear, ruin. It grows stronger with every conflict. Centuries ago, our ancestors sealed it away, using unity to lock its hunger for chaos. But all the bloodshed from the rebellion woke it from its slumber. It's breaking free. My mark isn't just a bond with Draco. It's proof I'm the dragon god's chosen one. She handed me the dragon god sword forged specifically to destroy this ancient darkness. Every groove and symbol on this blade is made to fight the chaos-feeding shadow. She gave me exactly 7 days before it arrives to destroy everything we've built together. We stepped through the portal, knowing the danger was already closing in on us. The portal's light blinded me for a split second, then I saw what was waiting outside. We were back on the northern cliffs, where Nemesis had turned to stone not long prior. And then I spotted it, a tiny, shadowy figure in the sky, slowly growing larger. It was already here, feeding on leftover rebellion chaos, growing stronger by the second. My mother's necklace burned hot, warning me the threat was closer than we dared think. I realized then our real foe wasn't Nemesis. It was something far older and more evil. I tightened my grip on the sword, ready to embrace my destiny as the chosen one. My mark blazed brighter than ever, reacting to the ancient evil looming above us. The 7 days we felt like nothing, this threat was already gaining strength too fast. We had to rush back to the Eastern Dragon Kingdom to ready everyone for what was coming. Draco and I stood before the leaders holding the orb that held our worst nightmare. Every eye in the room was wide with fear. No one wanted to believe it was real. No one dared speak first. This ancient threat was supposed to be sealed forever. Then Kale spoke up, the only one with a clear plan, a barrier of combined magic. Arguments erupted instantly. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to run. I knew it would take more than walls. My power was the only true weapon we had. The Dragon God's sword, my crown, and every ounce of our combined strength. That's what it would take. Then the doors shattered. Bluescale crashed in, his voice raw with desperation. He screamed that the shadow was attacking a human village. People were dying right now. We all lunged for the windows, our hearts dropping at the sight before us. Thick black smoke billowed into the sky, swallowing the whole village. Shadow tendrils wrapped around the houses, squeezing like living darkness. Villains ran screaming, with nowhere to hide from the darkness. My dragon mark burned hot, power surging through my veins like never before. Draco shifted into battle form, his armor glinting. We didn't have a second to waste. We raced for the doors, every second counting for the lives we might still save. Behind us, the leaders roared orders. Every dragon and human fighter was called to arms. Messages were sent, orders were given. This was no longer just a fight, it was a war. Draco took to the skies with me on his back, the burning village growing closer by the second. We weren't alone, our army followed, ready to fight for every last life. My mother's necklace grew warm, as if she was watching over us, giving me strength. As we drew closer, the scale of the destruction made my blood run cold. The tendrils writhed, hungry for chaos and destruction. I raised the Dragon God's sword, ready to face the darkness head-on. This ends now. I never thought a peaceful village could turn into a nightmare this fast. Shadow tendrils coiled around every building, trapping everyone in a living hell. Their screams cut through the air, pure, unfiltered terror in every sound. Draco didn't hesitate. He shifted into his dragon form in the blink of an eye. His fire roared, burning through the dark tendrils like they were thin paper. I gripped my Dragon God sword, feeling raw power surge through my veins. My dragon mark blazed to life, perfectly matching the sword's silver glow. A silver slash cut through the dark. Those twisted tendrils vanished in an instant. Kale and the soldiers rushed to get every trapped villager to safety. Their relief was palpable, but we both knew the danger wasn't over yet. Then it appeared, an ominous shadow figure looming in the dark sky. It sent more massive tendrils our way, hungry for more chaos and fear. I channeled every ounce of power into the sword, and gold light erupted from it. The golden force slammed into that shadow, sending it reeling back into the sky. It laughed, a cold, echoing sound that made my blood run ice cold. Its words fueled my fury, but I knew I had to stay focused to win. It said our fear and chaos were its fuel, and we were feeding it well. My sword's light dimmed, and I realized we faced something far stronger than we thought. Draco landed beside me, his presence a comforting anchor in the chaos. We stood together, ready to face whatever that twisted shadow had planned next. We're behind the last line of defense, standing between humanity and total annihilation. Dragons and humans, once enemies, now stand side by side to fight this darkness. It's here, the ancient shadow that feeds on chaos, ready to tear our world apart. The barrier is cracking. Our last protection won't hold much longer. I'm the only one who can turn this tide. My powers are our final hope. My dragon mark burns brighter than ever, channeling the power of the bond. Channel all your power to me, every dragon, every human. We need it all. The dragons answer first, ancient power surging toward me. Humans join in, their courage fueling the magic alongside dragon fire. Magic flows like a river, merging into a single, brilliant light within me. I can feel it, power beyond anything I've ever known, burning in my veins. This ends now. I'll drive this shadow back, or die trying. The light hits it full force, and the shadow screams, reeling back in pain. But it doesn't vanish, it's still here, wounded but far from defeated. It laughs, mocking us, saying our power isn't enough to truly destroy it. I won't back down, we've come too far to lose everything now. Our allies rally, ready to fight again, even when all hope seems lost. The barrier cracks wider, its light dimming as the shadow's power grows. My mark burns even brighter, reacting to the shadow's growing power. I can feel its weakness now. If I strike true, this will finally end. Together, dragons and humans, we are stronger than any darkness can ever be. I see it in its eyes, fear, for the first time. It knows we might win. Just when hope felt lost, my mother's spirit appeared with a devastating truth. I looked at Draco, and without hesitation, he nodded in unspoken agreement. Dragons and humans clasped hands tightly as magical light began to flow between us. The light gathered into a warm yet powerful golden orb floating before me. I gripped the Dragon God sword, channeling all our hope and resolve into it. My dragon mark blazed with its final, brilliant light, power surging through my body. Every dragon and human poured their power into the orb. Unity made us unstoppable. The golden orb struck the shadow directly, tearing from it a shriek of agony. The shadow twisted and screamed, dissolving into nothing but swirling smoke. As the smoke cleared, I felt the power draining from me, fast. The dragon crown on my head cracked, crumbling into dust before my eyes. I I touched my dragon mark. Its light was gone, leaving only a faint, dull shape. The battlefield fell silent. Every dragon and human knew the sacrifice was complete. Draco rushed to my side, catching me as my strength gave out. I looked into his eyes, no regret, only certainty that our sacrifice was worth it. Then, cheers erupted from every direction we had won. The threat was gone. The dragon necklace around my neck warmed, like my mother was proud of us. Amid the ruins, I could already see the first signs of new life taking root. We stood together at the center of the field, watching the clear sky ahead. I may have lost my powers, but the world was finally safe, and that was everything. As the wind blew across the quiet field, I smiled, knowing our future was bright. Dragons and humans worked side by side, rebuilding what we had lost. Draco squeezed my hand tightly, a silent promise that we'd face everything together. As the sun set, we all turned toward a future built on unity, not fear. Cheers exploded all around me, dragons and humans, finally standing as one. Draco's arm was firm around my waist, warm and steady. For centuries, our kind had only known war, but in this moment, we were family. Even the oldest dragons roared with joy. They never thought this day would come. Then my aunt stepped forward, her hands holding something I never expected. It was a new crown forged from both human and dragon metal, a symbol of our unity. The metal swirled with both dragon patterns and human engravings, every line a promise we'd keep. As I took it, my aunt's voice softened. She'd spent years fighting against this, and now she was embracing it. She told me my sacrifice hadn't stolen my power, it had broken the curse. My strength was never magic, but love. I looked down at the mark on my collarbone. Its light was warm now, not the fierce glow of battle. The crowd fell silent, waiting for me to speak for the queen of their united worlds. I lifted the crown, my voice steady even as my heart raced. We'd come too far to stop now. We'd build schools where dragon hatchlings and human children learned together. We'd heal the wounds of war. But just as hope filled the air, a shadow fell over the moment. Kale was pushing through the crowd, his face grim. He held a scroll in his hands. Its seal twisted a symbol I'd come to fear. The seal was a twisted mix of dragon and human symbols wrong, broken, like someone wanted to tear us apart. I took the scroll, my fingers cold. Draco's hand drifted to his sword, like he already knew what was coming. The words on the page made my blood run cold. A new rebellion was forming, one that hated our unity. They didn't want peace. They wanted to go back to the old days of war, of fear, of separation. I looked up at the crowd, at the faces that had just been full of joy. I had to tell them the truth. The cheers died. Faces fell from joy to confusion, then to fear. We weren't safe yet. Draco stood beside me, his face set like stone. He wouldn't let anyone tear our worlds apart again. The rebels called themselves the Old Guard dragons and humans who refused to let go of the past. I told them we wouldn't back down. We'd fight for this unity, for the family we'd built. Some roared in anger, some whispered in fear, but no one looked away. We were in this together. The celebration was over. Now, the real fight began to protect the world we'd worked so hard to build. We stood before the united crowd, that scroll in our hands holding the truth of the new rebellion. Dragons and humans stood side by side, but peace was already starting to fray. The symbol on that scroll, a twisted mix of dragon, human, and shadow, something we'd never seen before. Draco's hand in mine, we marched forward, ready to face whatever came next. I raised that new crown, forged from human and dragon metal, and let my voice ring out clear. We won't let this rebellion tear us apart. We've survived far worse than this. The crowd roared in agreement, dragons and humans raising their fists and blades together. Our leaders dispersed, rushing to gather forces to hunt down the rebels. Then, Draco pulled me close, his warm lips brushing my forehead in a gentle, reassuring kiss. Hand in hand, we walked toward the castle, ready to plan our next move to stop this threat. The sun hung low, painting the castle spires in golden light, but danger lurked just beyond the trees. That's when I felt it eyes watching us, hidden in the shadowy tree line at the city's edge. I turned, scanning every shadow, my heart starting to race as I searched for the source. And there it was, a figure half dragon, half human, half shadow, shifting slightly in the dark. Red eyes glowed from the darkness, locking onto mine with a cold, cruel intensity I'd never felt before. It stepped forward just enough, letting us see its twisted form, an abomination of all three worlds we'd united. Draco pulled me behind him, his hand going to his sword, ready to defend us from this twisted creature. My crown grew warm against my head, a sign my powers were awakening, ready to fight if we needed them. Then it spoke, its voice a guttural mix of dragon roar and human growl. The rebellion has only just begun. You will never truly unite our worlds. The old ways will return, and you will fall to them. We stood there frozen as it vanished into the shadows, those cruel words echoing in our ears long after it was gone. The peace we'd fought so hard to build was already under attack, and we knew this was only the very start. I squeezed Draco's hand tighter, my resolve hardening. We would not let this rebellion break us. Turning back toward the castle, we knew we had to act fast to protect everything we'd built together. The castle gates stood wide open, our allies already gathering inside to help us plan our counterattack. My mother's necklace grew warm against my chest, a reminder I wasn't alone in this fight for our united worlds. Together, we stepped inside, ready to face whatever darkness this rebellion would throw at us next. Our allies were already gathered in the Great Hall, ready to hear our plan and fight beside us. That new crown wasn't just a symbol, it was a promise to keep our united world safe from all threats. The united symbol hung above us, a constant reminder of what we were fighting to protect for future generations. I stepped toward the podium, ready to rally our forces and crush this rebellion before it could spread further. No twisted shadow, no rebel force, no old ways could break what we'd built. We were stronger together. Kale stood in the crowd, his silver dragon tattoo glowing, ready to fight beside us to protect our peace. My aunt, now redeemed, stood beside him, her eyes full of pride for what we'd accomplished together. As night fell over the united capital, we prepared for battle, knowing the dawn would bring a new and dangerous fight. But for now, we stood together by the castle windows, ready to face whatever the night would bring. Our strategists worked late into the night, planning how we would find and stop this new rebellion before it grew too strong. That scroll sat on the table between us, a constant reminder of the threat we now faced at our own gates. I leaned over the map, studying every corner of our united worlds, determined to find this rebellion's base. The hall was filled with light and purpose, a reminder that we were not alone in this fight for our peace.